Now, there are different flavors of when you are managing a project. There are different types. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So I've changed it to full screen now. Okay. There are different types or approaches to managing a project. The most common one is predictive. That is the one you see everywhere in most places. That's what you see in construction. That's what you see in many other areas. That's what engineers know about most of the time. You want to build a plant, it's constructive, it's predictive. From the beginning, you want to have a diagram of how everything will look like. You want to know details, how much you want to spend. Details, how long will it take? Details, how this, how that, detail. You want to predict as much as possible the full 360-degree view from start to finish of the whole project. That's predictive. Then you have adaptive. Then you have hybrid. Predictive is called a plan-driven project or plan-driven approach to managing projects. You want to plan extensively and you want to use that plan to define how you want to manage the project. Then adaptive is called change-driven. In this case now, you want to pipe low. You know, the problem with predictive is that when you are in a predictive form of managing a project, you will not like change. Mr. Kolawole, why will you not like change? If you are managing a predictive, if you are doing a predictive approach, you won't like change. Why?
If you are managing a project, you are using a predictive. In this form, you already know from the initial stage of the project, you already know the total amount of money you spent. You already know the time you start the project in head. So it is very difficult. It is very difficult when you are moving to the adaptive method, whereby it is change-driven and.
No, you did not get my point. What I'm saying is that when you are in a predictive mode for managing a project, if anything changes on the project, you don't like it most of the time. Why?
Why? Is because most of the stakeholders, nobody will listen to you. So it's not really easy. It's not really easy like that. If you're on a project and you're using a predictive, you're already in a predictive mode. Everything is as been calculated. You know the quantity of your sand, quantity of your cement, quantity of the cables, this and that. So moving back to the stakeholders to discuss the change, it's very difficult. So as a project manager, using this predictive method, you won't like anything. You want to adopt anything, you won't like it at all. You won't like it.
Correct.
Because
even though change can happen or change will happen, but it has to go through what we call change control system. Especially when that change is a fundamental change that will affect your key metrics. Maybe something that will affect your schedule, or something that will affect the scope, or something that will affect your budget. You understand? Those things have been baselined. We'll still explain what we mean by baselining. Of course, I believe we have an idea what we mean by baselining. So they will have been baselined. Baselining just means that you have already gone to meet your sponsor and sponsor has approved it. So for example, you have a project, sponsor has already approved that this project is $5 million. And then something happens and it wants to become 5.5. Can you take that decision on your own? Mr. Lako, can you take that decision on your own?
No, not at all. So anything that will go change in the cost, in the schedule, in the scope, is something that, like rightly said, the processes involved will be much. In my industry, it involves change in scope and what have you. So you undergo what is called management of change, and it's not a linear activity. It's very robust and what have MOC, management of change.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. So I like that part that it's not a linear activity like that. There is usually either a committee or the sponsor himself you raise a change request, the change request is submitted, it is reviewed, and then if they decide to approve it, then they communicate the approval to you. And then you go and carry it out. That's predictive. But in adaptive, okay, now, predictive is good. In fact, predictive is excellent when you are in a system that is largely stable. Mr. Jelly, are you there? Predictive is excellent when you are in a system that is largely stable. Prices are stable. Conditions are stable. Political environment is stable. Stable. But if you're in an environment whereby nothing is clear, it's difficult for you to plot start to finish at the beginning of the project. At the beginning, clear, as in you can't really have a handle on what exactly is going on, or where are we going precisely. Or you might know where you are going, but how do you want to get there? You don't even know. Will this project take 4 months or 6 months or 1 year? You don't even have clarity. The best you can just guess, well, okay, let us start by assuming it will take 4 months. But even you know that 4 months ain't a lie. You understand? So in that case, you use adaptive. That one is change driven. So that way, you are free from the restraints of having to follow a clear plan strictly. So in the adaptive mode, you are not under pressure to say you want to have clarity of the whole journey from the beginning. No. What adaptive will do for you is that, okay, let us not view the whole project from start to finish. Let us go step by step. I only need to know how to take my next step. That's all. Once I finish taking my next step, I will plan the coming step. Once I finish taking that step too, I will plan the coming step. That's adaptive. So by the time you take your first step, all the learnings that you have gotten in your first step, you will factor that in planning for your next step. Then when you take your third step, you factor all the learnings from the beginning again. You factor that in taking your fourth step. So that one is a lot of feedback, learning, learning, because things are changing rapidly. You understand? Things are changing rapidly. So if you say you want to plan from start to finish, by the time you take step one, the whole of your plan is now useless. Because things have changed. Fundamental metrics have changed. KPIs have changed. Even sometimes the whole objective of the project might have even been altered. Because the things it is depending on is no longer feasible or valid. So you plan step by step. That's what is called adaptive. And then you now have hybrid. What you have most of the time now is, in some sectors, is hybrid. Some form of predictive, some form of adaptive.